necessarily that they'll make a decision there, because the CV that a hiring manager gets is probably gone through ATS and HR. So if they have this question, they'll ask you in the interview. And I don't know about this because I haven't dealt with career gap CVs so far. I'm not 100% sure if ATS actually looks for that in terms of date matching.
I hear sometimes it can, but you seem to think that it doesn't do it initially, it's only at a later stage that it will try and do it.
Yeah, so if in job application, if it matters, they'll probably ask you that question in the interview. In terms of ATS, I think ATS is more worried about getting the right person with right skills and right experience in than the career gap. At least that's what I believe.
Because actually, what I'm possibly thinking of doing, just as a little bit of a theoretical exercise, apply for a job where I almost completely downplay the dates or even leave out the dates and see what sort of response that I get.
Can do that. Yeah, but these things can become a problem in the background checks later on, but again, it's something that I'm not 100% sure on if the ETS actually picks it up. But the best thing would be you can leave it out in the CV and then definitely explain it in the interview, so that if they're happy with your experience, I don't think so that is the thing that they will care about. Once they are sure that, usually if you get through the first round, and there are only 2 rounds or there are 3 rounds, if you get through the HR screening, data task and first round, more or less you're pretty much confident that you are getting the job.
I suppose one thing we could, rather than dropping the dates completely, we just simply put the year in and drop the months. Because
I can do that.
I personally don't like putting the months in at all. And with the education section where you say where we went to university, I think we could even drop the year from that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like as you gain more experience, you can definitely try out those things, and just make sure that you explain those things in the in the interview, so that you don't have to go through that entire thing during the background checks if it happens.
Okay, yeah.
Any other questions on this slide? Yeah. So that brings me to the next thing, which is cover letter writing. I think in cover letter, a lot of times, not every company asks for a cover letter, but it is always useful that you have a cover letter attached, because, and again, Nitish will talk about how you can leverage AI to get these things much quicker, not necessarily that you have to sit down and write nowadays. But the important thing of cover letter is because you can actually structure your cover letter in a way that you start with a hook. Like this is how usually cover letters should ideally be written. You start with the hook in terms, because on CV you don't have enough space to explain everything, and the cover letter gives you an opportunity to tell them why you are actually looking for the job. Some companies, some applications do have a specific section on why you want this job, etc., etc. But if they don't have it, which 90% companies don't have it, then you can use your cover letter for that. Start with the hook, as in why yourself and why you are looking for the job. Second is why the company. This is very important because it kind of tells them that you have read you have some basic understanding of the business. Because I remember in my first job, the first interview question was, how does Top Cashback make money if they are just a cashback company and they are not charging from the customers? So how do they make money? So, and that was written in the bottom of their on the website, which I had luckily had seen that. So that was the first question that they asked me. So if they would have asked this question to other people, they might some people might have already gone through that, but there will be some percentage who might not have. So that kind of creates, it doesn't kind of take you out of the interview right away, but it kind of gives you bonus points if you actually mention it. And that why it is important is because if you do the research actually, a simple Google search will tell you that. Then you can obviously write the second part, which is why us. And again, nowadays AI has gone that far that you just have to give the AI what exactly you're looking for in a cover letter, and the AI will write for you. And you can obviously proofread it and change it later on. But it brings down your 10-15 minutes of writing time to 5 minutes. So that is again very useful. Third is again use some bullet points to give some examples, which should be the third section of your cover letter. And again, this is something that can be repeated based on the kind of job you're applying for. And finally, the data essentials, which are again the non-technical skills and the technical skills, should again be mentioned in the cover letter. I'm not 100% sure if the ATS is used for the cover letter bit. I think it is mainly for the hiring manager than the HR screen person. So it kind of helps you both things. Recent funding, like for example, you can kind of personalize it by using the recent big news about the company. If it's if a company it's a startup, they have got recent funding or something, or for example, they have any specific tech stack, or if you have work for a competitor, then it definitely helps you. So yeah, these are small things which can create a big impact, a big difference between you and the other applicants who are applying for the same role.
Okay, now as for number 3 about the number 3 focuses on our own previous work. 'Cause I was going to say that somewhere in the cover letter, don't we have to do a detailed point-by-point comparison of how our experience matches the points in the job description, a bit
No.
like an application essay?
No, that's the whole point of your CV.
Just on your CV, it won't go like on your CV. When I say you have to tailor your CV as per job description, what I mean is you need to add the your experience in your previous roles or your education needs to match the kind of skill set that the application job description talks about. For example, as I mentioned, the A/B testing bit. So A/B test. So if you are applying for a product role and one of the daily task is A/B testing, or the essential task is A/B testing, then you can add you can change your experience in a way that you had experience on A/B testing. Same for DBT or those things. So anything in your CV is more general, but you are trying to make it very specific. The CV in itself is general, but we want to make it specific so that it's tailored for that particular role, so that you are adding the right keywords. So that's the thing. And in cover letter, you can be a bit more specific on why this company exactly, why right now, what you know about the company, what excites you about the company, because all these questions are going to come in the interview as well. And if they have read your cover letter, they'll definitely try to ask you once again, just to make sure that it was you also theoretical and you read your cover letter.
Normally speak, I've not had too much time because I'm not aware. I don't know, I've worked with 3 companies where I did interviewing. I don't think I ever read a cover letter.
Yeah. No, that's exactly as I said. Like, if they do read it, then yeah.
Yeah, I think like from my experience when I applied for my recent job like 2 years back, I also thought of the same thing, like they wouldn't read my cover letter, but it happened that they really picked up some points from my cover letter, and then they talked about it not in my first interview but rather in my second interview. So it really is the case, like I think it's maybe for the experienced roles and not for the fresher roles, but yeah, definitely in my fresher roles, no one really picked up my cover letter. They were more interested in my CV. But yeah, I think for experienced roles, they might come to the cover letter.
I
Like,
think it just depends on the company.
yeah, it
because,
also depends on the company.
Like even if they've attached one, I just don't read it. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's so much. I've got so many CVs to go through that day
Yeah.
that I'm not reading the CVs and the
Yeah.
cover letter.
Yeah, and also like one of the other things that I've seen, like when I was interviewing for one of the candidates, so because the 5 resumes I was looking at were all very, like I couldn't really find the exact things that we wanted for the job description, so it made us read the cover letters. Maybe we'll find some better explanations of what the candidate has and dive deep into that. So I think it's sort of very relative, as you said as well, like not every company would go in and read your cover letter, but yeah, sometimes they do.
Right, and also one more thing that I thought about or literally forgot is that if you see on LinkedIn if the job role is reposted, and let's say it was reposted 2 days back, 1 day back, then high chances that if you write a cover letter, because they haven't found, and let's say 100 people had already applied and they reposted it, it basically tells you that the company is not finding the right person. Now they are more likely to read your cover letter, or they are more likely to actually look a bit more in detail in the first round itself to get through that. So because it shows the desperation of the company that they want to hire that for that particular role. So cover letter, again, don't spend a lot of time, as I mentioned. This is where exactly the AI will come to a lot of help. So I'll probably in this time go to the next slides bit quickly. Then this is something applicant funnel, which it is very important. And a lot of times, if you are applying for the job and you're not getting callbacks, or you kind of are losing a bit of motivation, then this is something that you can kind of picture yourself, because the main thing is, this is the choking point where most of the people get choked out. Everyone, you, me, everyone. Once you go through this particular choking point, this should be an easy task. Not easy task, but the probability of you getting from here to here is much higher than the probability of you coming from here to here. Just simple math. And so that's why you need to, yes, you need to do high quality applications, but you need to do high quality applications in volume. If you are already doing a full-time job, if you are just looking to go to a next opportunity, if you find it, then 10 to 12 high quality applications per week is fine. But if you are desperately looking for a job and you are, let's say, not having a full-time job and you desperately want a job, then probably do 10 high quality applications per day. It won't take you more than 3 to 4 hours of your day. And and I think investing 3 to 4 hours of your day in this bit is very important, so that you don't have to keep doing this for months. So this bit, having high volume, is very important, because the more you put from here, there are more chances that at least one thing will come from that side. And I think if you apply for 100 applications, you might not even land a single CV screening if your, let's say, hit rate is less than 1%. But if you do 200, you get 1 or 2 CV screens, or you do 300 applications in a 3-month span, and you get 3 CV screening. Then going from 3 CV screening to the offer is a very high chance. And I'm taking like the worst case numbers, and obviously hopefully the numbers should be better than 1% hit rate in this part. And once your numbers are better in this part, the next part should ideally become more easier or more achievable. So yeah, that is on that.
I think the one is the spray and pray approach, which is quite good.
Depends.
People should not be doing that.
Yeah, so like spray and pray approach, basically you do generic CV, generic cover letter, and you send 200 applications or 50 applications per day. But that's of no use. You need to invest some time to do more applications, more high quality applications. So volume versus quality, I don't think so that is the right way of putting quality versus volume. I think it's quality and volume is what is more important. Finally, the HR screening, I won't spend a lot of time on this. Again, make sure that if you're looking for a role in London, you have London mentioned somewhere in your CV at the top, or on your LinkedIn as well if they're looking for your LinkedIn. So in both cases. A lot of people, in terms of notice period, if you're already working, make sure that you already know what your notice period is, because that's the first question they'll ask you in the screening round, and obviously right to work as well. And okay, so these are the logistical questions which are very important that you already have the answer for. And if, for example, something that I can tell you, like my first job, they had, like even my current job also has 3 days per week in office compulsory. My previous job also had it, and that was right after COVID, when not a lot of companies used to have compulsory work from office days, but that was clearly asked for, and I had already seen in their job description that they want that. So you should already be prepared to answer that question, unless, because they won't ask you question right away that are you okay to work 3 days in office. They'll probably ask in a much more different manner, which you might not actually. You're like, I'm okay with 1 day going to the office, and that kind of case. So if you're saying that I'm happy to come in 3-4 days a week, or even 5 days a week, so that kind of helps you. But obviously it's not a make or break thing, but it adds those extra points. And make sure that you have, as soon as you get a call from HR, or HR is scheduling a call with you, you need to go before 10 minutes before the call. You need to go through your CV, your cover letter, and your job description, and pick out as many keywords as possible. And just, as I said at the start, HR has no idea about DBT, has no idea about Python, but all he or she is looking for is you use those keywords while you're discussing your experiences with the HR. So make sure you do that. The next is data task assessment. This is usually a take-home task or live coding. Mostly it's take-home task. Few companies do live coding or case studies as well, guesstimates and market sizing questions specifically for certain roles. But nowadays, because of AI, companies don't trust take-home assessment, so a lot of companies are moving towards live coding. Not necessarily you should get the right answer there, because recently when I was applying for a job, I was asked to do SQL as well as Python live on screen share. I think out of 6 questions I got 4 completed. I could not complete the 2, like the remaining 2, and I still got the job. So having like, so the point is that they are, and this was literally been told to me by their director, saying that they are not looking for someone who can do all the things right away, because these questions are not meant to do that. They are meant to test your approach, because nowadays syntax and all these things can easily be done by AI. They care about your approach, and you need to have some basic understanding. So yeah, so these are small things. If you have any questions, obviously feel free to ask, because then now we're kind of going into the interview bit, which is ideally more important. I should ideally have spent more time on this than the previous bit, but anyway. So next is technical preparation. Is obviously your advanced SQL. Basic SQL I think is must. Advanced SQL rank is something that a lot of companies do want to know if you know the window functions and stuff. So they will ask you to explain what you're doing. So please make sure that you have this. Python, not a lot of companies do ask for Python, but few companies do. And stats and probability is something that you should always know, especially if you are looking for product side roles, because it's more of the numbers thing than the development part. And someone who doesn't have a lot of experience can actually do their own projects. So for example, if you are not based in the UK, I was based in India before this. So if I did not have a lot of experience, then I would have put a lot of projects, but those projects might be either from Kaggle datasets or those things which are much more generic, or it might be from India. But you have government.uk sites, ONS data, which is freely available online. You can do your own projects from those data on that data set as well. So that kind of gives you a bit more specification that you're looking in the right thing as well. So and final interview is probably very important. Obviously by now you have already cleared the data task, you have already cleared the first round of interview where it was more about technical questions. In this it's more about stakeholder meetings, culture fit. So for example, director might be the person who might you might be asked to present a data task to a director, and they will ask you on why this finding is important. So you need to understand that 40% increase in XYZ is the output of your analysis, but what does it actually mean to the business is what you need to focus on. Again, not each and every role requires this, but nowadays increasingly data analyst roles are becoming a bridge between the tech side, which you are doing, like the number side, and translating these things to the business audience. Obviously, if you are going more to data engineering side, DBT, Airflow, and only looking after the data bit, then this might not be very important. But if you're doing the analytical roles, then this becomes very important, because you need to convert those analytical findings into what actually it means for the business.
Yeah, actually on that note, although strictly speaking, this should not really be part of the data analyst role, because certainly up until fairly recently, you had the data analyst here and the subject expert here, but now there seems to be gradual overlap between them. So would it be fair to say that what up until previously we described as a data analyst is now a combined data analyst and business analyst?
Yes, absolutely.
So in other words, you do now need to know about subject background, and you need to be able to explain the subject in the sort of expert manner that you typically see the writers and the things like the City AM newspaper are able to explain things.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is, you have rightly put it, and that is where the differentiation is kind of blurred. As I said, if the role is more towards your, for example, data engineering side, ETL, or building pipelines, then you might not be asked to do this bit. But if your role is more around analyzing data, finding out insights, and helping business take more data-driven decisions, then that last bit, helping business take more data-driven decisions, is where this becomes important, because you are the person who has now taken out the insights, and now you are the person as well who is going to present these numbers in a meeting where the stakeholders are then going to decide, oh, we do this A or we do that B. So that is basically what it is.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then it means that data analysts nowadays, as well as knowing typical data analyst things, they now need to know about things that were previously associated only with business analysts, like, for example, waterfall, Scrum, and all that.
So that is going more into project management side. So for example, my previous role was business insights analyst. So in that, it was necessary for me not to know about the Scrum and those things. Those are more into project management side or project building side. So as I said initially, it is vaguely said that both the roles come under business analysis or business analytics. But the part of Scrum, Agile, story points, user stories, that goes into project management side. And when I talk about the business context, I mean that how this actually impacts our business. I don't exactly have like an example right now, but for example, if I just make up an example, how a 40% increase in your retention by day, let's say, of your product, of user retention of 30% increase, what does that translate to your downstream revenue? Is what you need to. So a 30% increase in retention does not tell the stakeholder anything on if it is good or bad. You need to translate in a way that you now take that 30% increase and tell them that this 30% increase will lead to XYZ% increase in your revenue or like any other KPI. So that is how you are basically, and like this is what the business context means. That your 30% initially for a data analyst the data analyst only cared about that getting to the 30% number. Nowadays, the business analyst or data analyst cares about that 30% as well as what that 30% means to the business person sitting on the table.
So ultimately, we have to relate it to how much money can be saved.
It depends on the company, but yeah, depends on the job. Like, but yeah, that's the main goal of an analyst too. Yeah, that pretty much brings me
Yeah,
to.
sorry, just going back to that
Yes.
statement.